Hello my friends, Stark here. Stark date 2023.08.16. Today's video will involve some time travel. We'll begin in the late 1980s, jump to January of 2021, and finally catch up to the present, August of 2023. I hope you enjoy the video. In 1988, I bought my first car, a 1982 Talbot Horizon LS in white. 6 years old, it was formerly a company car and had, I think, somewhere from 70 to 90,000 miles. About 4 to 6 weeks later, my paternal grandfather decided to sell his car because he wanted to downsize to a smaller model. His car was also a Talbot Horizon, also white, but a more upscale 1980 GL, and had only 38,000 miles. My grandfather told me that I could buy his car for whatever money I could sell the 1982 car. Thus, for a brief period, I owned two Talbot Horizons, both white, both 4-speed manual, and both with the 1.3-litre engine. You're looking at photos of the 1980 car with the chrome bumpers. The later car, which is of course the first one that I owned, had the cost cutter painted bumpers. I kept the 1980 Talbot Horizon for around 8 to 9 years, finally selling in about 1995 or 1996. Fast forward a good many years, and now living in USA, I decided to seek something similar to my second car. I owned the first car for only a few weeks, thus it's the second car that I remember. Of course I couldn't buy a Talbot Horizon because they weren't sold in North America. But that was okay, because the sister cars, the Plymouth Horizon and Dodge Omni, were sold in its place. All three were built only as a 5-door hatchback. There are, however, some significant differences between the European and American sisters. The Talbot had a choice of 4 Simca engines, 1.1, 1.3, 1.5, and a rarely seen 1.6 Police Special, which really wasn't that special. The American cars have the much superior overhead cam Chrysler engines. The basic overhead valve Simca engines were really heavy for their power output, being both cast iron block and head. The other major difference is front suspension. The Talbot has torsion bar front suspension, whereas the Dodge and Plymouth have coil springs. This is really strange, given that Chrysler Corporation was a pioneer of torsion bar suspension. Lastly, the dashboard, bumpers, headlights, grills, and tail light treatments are completely different. So I kept looking, but not obsessively, and bought several other cars while this was in the back of my mind. Finally, I made a move in January of 2021. The following video was recorded at the time, so I'm only 2.5 years late with the edit and upload. Alright friends, let's head to Russia. We're not doing so well on the ice, are we? Here we go. Well, we're not actually heading to Russia, but Russiaville, Indiana. Well, friends, this is what I bought. A 1989 Dodge Omni, and rust-free. Now, it's not the original paint. It's been repainted in the correct color. Now, my Talbot Horizon had a 4-speed manual transmission. This car has the automatic. I would have preferred the manual, but they're hard to find. So I bought what I could get. Well, that's quite enough of that winter nonsense. Let's make a welcome return to August of 2023. As we walk around this car and admire its 1980s razor edge styling, we can see that the vehicle screams 1980s at us. And yet, by design, this is not a 1980s car. It's a 1970s car. What do I mean by that? Well, the first production year or model year was 1978. And that means that tooling would have been finalized by 1977, which in turn means that the design was likely finished in 1976. So by design, this is squarely, excuse the pun, a 1970s car. By today's standards, this car is hopelessly out of date. And yet, for 1978, it was ahead of its time, which is of course why the European variant won Car of the Year. This car has two things going for it. One, it's here. You and I are not shaving our faces with razor blades that have been recycled from it. And two, it's in remarkably good condition, especially with respect to the dreaded rust. Dodge Omni and Plymouth Horizon cars were built from 1978 to 1990. A 13-year production run that spans 3 decades. That's astonishing, given that the body was virtually unchanged over that time frame. Chrysler Corporation built approximately 2.5 million Dodge Omni and Plymouth Horizon cars, but I don't know how many of the European variant were built. Initially, that European variant was named the Chrysler Horizon, but when Chrysler sold the Roots Group, the car was rebadged as the Talbot Horizon, which is the type that I owned. I like this exploded view with the hood hatch and the 4 doors open. This car has what is by far the most common engine for the North American vehicles, the Chrysler 2.2 liter overhead cam 4-cylinder engine. It's belt drive, and this particular car has 79,268 miles. So it's certainly not low miles, but neither is it particularly high. It has way more get up and go than my 1980 Talbot Horizon had, which was equipped with the Simca 1.3 liter engine. As I mentioned earlier, I would have preferred a manual transmission upon this car, but this is what I found, and I'm satisfied with the automatic. Alright, let's nitpick this car and identify all of the little defects. Beginning at the front, we have about a 2-inch broken or missing section of the bottom slat of the front grille. The front left window cranks up and down, but it needs a little help with guidance. But on the plus side, every door corner and every door bottom is free of rust. The driver's seat has some vinyl wear to the left bolster. None of the other seats have this tearing or cracking. And the remainder of the seat is in good condition. The rear left external door handle is broken, which means that the door cannot be opened from the outside, but it can be opened from the inside, so I don't think that's a safety issue. The original blue plastic has faded to a sickly grey through exposure to sunshine in various places around the interior. And here at the back, this line really shows the difference between non-faded and faded plastic. It's the same piece of plastic, but on the one side the plastic has been protected by the parcel shelf, and on the other side it was not. Now that fading is particular only to the hard plastic. The vinyl has not faded. That retains its original blue color. The front right indicator lens has a lot of heat crazing. It hasn't been scraped. It's smooth to the touch, so it must be heat from the bulb within. At some point, the original glove box door must have broken, and a previous owner has replaced it with a factory correct unit, but clearly in the wrong color. It doesn't match the remainder of the interior. It does work, just the wrong color. I don't mind it. I think it supports the survivor character of this car. The dashboard is in great shape, no cracks in the vinyl. The previous owner replaced the headliner because the original was sagging. He decided to go for a cheerful floral pattern. It's almost a paisley. I really like it. I think it adds character to the car. But what do you think? Inside the cabin, half of the monitors work and half don't. The inoperative monitors are the fuel level, the tachometer, which I was surprised to see that this car had, and the temperature monitor. But an aftermarket temperature monitor is fitted below the dashboard, and that does work. On the positive side, the speedometer, odometer, battery monitor, and oil pressure monitor all operate correctly. Alright, my friends, let's drive this old girl across the road and back to the workshop. Alright, safely returned home. As mentioned, Chrysler Corporation built approximately 2.5 million Dodge Omni and Plymouth Horizon cars. They were ubiquitous throughout the 1980s. They carried millions to and from work and fetched billions of pounds worth of groceries. And yet we don't see them anymore. They were a cheap yet comfortable car that excelled in transporting people from A to B with good economy. They were used up through attrition. And now in 2023, this, for the time common as muck car, has become a rarity. When is the last time that you saw one? The paint color of this particular car is ice blue. It's the original color, but not the original paint. It's had one repaint. Talking with American friends that owned Omni and Horizon cars during the 1980s, this was apparently a common color scheme. Unfortunately, this color is mightily attractive to insects, especially wasps. Insects are attracted to the paint, and my guess is that the insects mistakenly think that the car is a source of water. Here's the underside of the vehicle. Currently we're looking from the left. It is in great shape for a car which is now 34 years old. Whenever you are searching for a car, you don't have to settle for rust. If it's rusty underneath, walk away and continue your search. Don't settle for a rusted vehicle. Now we're on the right side of the vehicle, looking forward. Once you have acquired that rust-free or almost rust-free car, it then becomes your responsibility to keep it that way, which means that you can't drive it in the winter. So understand that it is a commitment. No winter driving. You must have a beta vehicle to drive during the winter. Thank you so much for watching, my friends. Take care. See you next time. Yeah, he can stay right there. His videos suck anyway.